Well, welcome to Ignite Humanity Live. I'm your host, Lady JB Owen, and I'm so happy to be here because we're talking about ways to ignite humanity. That's right, each and every one of us can ignite humanity by those small, little, incremental things that we do. So if you're at home sitting on the couch and you're wondering, what can I do to ignite humanity? Well, there are so many things. And my guest today is going to share some amazing ideas with you. Now, if you are igniting humanity and you're doing amazing things, reach out to us at ignitehumanity.life/share and tell us what you're up to, because we would love to have you on the show. And if you want to watch this show and any other shows that we're doing, please reach out to ignitehumanity.life/watch. And you can see the fun things that we're up to. And why are we doing it? Well, because we are igniting literacy. We are building schools overseas in countries around the globe to help children step into their power and the things that they need to do to ignite humanity. And you can help us out by going to ignitehumanity.live/donate and check out how you can be a part of building our schools. Each and every dollar goes towards building a school. $1 is one brick. So whatever you do to donate, you can definitely help us. Well, humanity is on the forefront. Of course, we're all thinking about what's going on with humanity and how can we help. And I know when you come to watch the show, you're thinking, JV, what can I do to help humanity? Well, there are many things that you can do. And today is all about inspiration. We're looking for new and unique ways to feel inspired, ways that you can do something that maybe you've never thought of before. But the amazing thing is that little thing you do makes a big impact in someone's life. And of course, you know that when you help somebody else, they help somebody else, and they help somebody else. And that is going to ignite humanity. The power of helping also comes from your ignite moments. When you have a powerful ignite moment in your life, well, you want to help somebody else because you've learned that golden nugget, that wisdom, that amazing little bit of extra from your ignite moment. And we're going to hear from our guest and her amazing ignite moment right now. All right, I want to welcome to the show Hanalei Swan, who is an artist, author, and social eco-friendly fashion designer. Is that right? And the great thing is, this young and amazing individual started her business when she was just 11 years old. Well, she's grown a bit, still only 15, but you're doing some powerful things to ignite humanity. I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm going to say that you're our youngest guest, so that means a lot to me, but you're so mature, and you're doing a lot of things. You've got a lot of success behind you already. How did that start, Miss Young, little one? Young Jedi here. Come on, tell me.
Oh, thank you. So I think my ignite moment side was, I remember my biggest moment was when I was about 7 years old. I remember getting asked the question, what do you want to be now? Instead of what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'll track back a bit because I feel like growing up, we constantly get asked when we're really young, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you're older? What do you want to be after you've gone through school, after you've gone to college? What do you want to be in the future? And I remember always answering, oh, what would my parents think would be best for me? What would other people think would be the best for my course of life? I was influenced by other people's choices and expectations.
And their ideas of what you should do.
Yeah, and I feel like this stands for all kids, all youth, anyone who grew up. You can probably remember getting asked that question. And maybe you said fireman, maybe you said dancer, maybe you said singer, astronaut, yeah. And I remember walking on the beach with my mom. We were on like a little visa run, and she looked to me, and we actually have a video of it, and she asked me, what do I want to be now? And it was the first time I ever really heard this question. Is such a simple word change can change the whole meaning.
It's true.
And change my whole perspective on what that question was. And I remember getting asked this and thinking, wow, I can actually do something now. Because people always believed in me, but they only believed in future me. They never believed what I could do in that moment. And so that was the first time I felt like I really could take action on something and do something with my life that wasn't held back by my age. Oh, I'm too young, I'm too small, I'm too weak. These are things that we put, labels that we put onto ourselves to limit ourselves from truly growing. And that was the first time I was really able to think without those limits.
I love that. I'm just taking it all in because who can we be right now? I mean, you got that at a young age, but I can put that on myself even right now. Who can I be right now? Because it's true. We always are looking for the future version of ourselves. And yet we even are down on ourselves because we're not that future version. And, when you're a kid and someone says, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, that's light years away for a kid.
Can't even think about it.
Exactly. And then the pressure to be an astronaut or a nurse or a doctor or whatever that looks like, I can see how people have a lot of stress or anxiety, or even, I can't fulfill that. And what you said is, who can I be now? I mean, that's a really powerful question. A lot of people are talking about being the now, living in the now. You've been living a lot overseas. You've been traveling a lot. Your family's been very blessed to give you a beautiful life of understanding other cultures. So for some of our viewers who are thinking about, like, what can I do now? You've been doing a lot. You've been an artist. You've been a writer. You told me earlier you're writing a book. What inspires that in you?
Oh, what inspires that in me? I really feel like it all boils down to that simple question: what do you want to be now? I ask myself this even to this day, and I've seen that over time the answers have changed. I remember when I was originally 7, I said I wanted to be a fashion designer. And when I was 11, I was actually able to start my first clothing company and design eco-friendly clothing to help people in this world. And that was my big moment where I felt like I finally fulfilled my dreams, where fulfilled that bit in me that proved that I could be bigger than my age, I could be bigger than what people told me. Especially after getting bullied in school. That was like my big moment where I finally felt confident within myself.
There's so many people listening to this show who are like, wow, like, I can be bigger than myself in this moment.
Yeah.
And I think, you've obviously been through the same thing we've all been through, just at a different lens, at a 15-year-old lens over the last couple of years. But knowing you can be bigger than this moment, knowing that you have a future, and knowing that you're steering your own future or determining your own future, that's very, very powerful. Would you say that came from lessons? Did that come from tribulation? Did that come from witnessing? Did you have mentors? Did you view it in somebody else?
Yeah, my entire life growing up, I've been on the road. Pretty much since I was 1 year old, my parents left America. We left California, sold everything with like a few $1,000s to our name after going bankrupt and all these crazy things happening right as I was born. And so we decided to leave the country and just travel. My parents started a business online. From there, they became entrepreneurs. And so my entire life growing up, I've been surrounded by entrepreneurs and surrounded by different cultures. I've lived in over 25 different countries.
A lot.
And have probably, from what my mom says, have been to over 100-something entrepreneurial events my entire life. I've probably been to more entrepreneurial events than I have schools, I've started doing homeschool these last 3 years. But I think the biggest influence in my life was probably traveling, as well as being around like-minded people. I think that was the biggest asset I was granted from a young age, because I was surrounded by people that wanted to see me excel. A phrase I like to think of is the people who we surround ourselves with are the people we become. So if you surround yourself with people who are lazy, people who don't really have many aspirations in life, you'll start to become that. You'll start to see that within yourself because you'll be influenced by their action. And so my entire life growing up, I was mainly surrounded by adults, mainly surrounded by entrepreneurs. So I was constantly around people who wanted to make big differences in the world, and had bigger aspirations and bigger dreams than their body, than themselves, They thought bigger than just themselves. They thought of the world. And so that influenced me to want to do the same. When I started my clothing collection and my company, I realized that fashion was putting so much harm into this world and doing so much negativity rather than good. And so I decided to...
Ecologically or environmentally?
Yes. Fashion is the second largest contributor to waste on our planet, right behind oil, because of the fast fashion industry. And after learning about this, I realized, once you learn something, you can't unlearn something.
Amen.
You start to notice things. After I realized we live in Bali, Indonesia right now, and it's a third world country. So I started noticing, the plastic on the beaches, the water just being filled with dyes and being filled with trash. And I realized I need to do something about this. This is now my home. And I don't want to live in a world where one day this trash will be times 10 for our future generations. And so I decided to start using sustainable fabrics, as well as dyes, and producing my clothing with the mindset of the earth first before fashion.
I'm like, wow. Like, I really am. I mean, it's really incredible what you're saying. I admire you because you're not putting yourself in a box. You're not saying, well, I cannot do this because I didn't get to do that because I didn't do that. Or I'm stuck here because this happened to me because my parents did this or whatever. And you're really showing people how they can break out of a box and decide for themselves by looking around their environment and realizing that they actually have the ability to make an impact and a responsibility. I think at a very young age, that's what I admire about you, is you feel the social responsibility. And there's a lot of kids and adults, who we don't actually care about what's happening. We're just so busy in the rat race or in the hamster wheel. We're not thinking about the impact. And so I really want to admire you for that. So there's some 15-year-olds sitting at home, 12-year-olds, 18-year-olds, maybe even 25-year-olds who are like, wow, how did she get started? How did she start that process?
How did I start? Yeah. Well, originally start with that question. That was kind of the question. A single question. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I feel like as humans, we are so inclined and so desperate for permission. I think permission of self-worth, permission of just being who you are, like having that social permission, I think is something that we all search for, even if we're not aware of it. We always want our parents to love us. We want our friends to think we're cool, all that stuff. I feel like that question was my bit of permission that I needed to actually take action.
But do you think now that the way you tell your story, like you're telling your story very eloquently, you're sharing about your family, you're sharing about what happened, how you've been traveling, and you are using that actually as fuel to your fire. That's why I get excited about Ignite, is because even though those were trials, there actually seemed to be the stoke to the thing that sparked in you.
Yeah, I really believe that you can't change the past. You can only change the steps that you're taking towards the future. And so how I look at life is everything's just a story. I love writing and I love fiction books. And I've always been really inspired by stories. And I just like to look at my life as a main character in a way of like my personal growth. I know this is a big slump in my life, but how am I going to pick up this sword? How am I going to continue?
And who do you want to be now in this chapter? Like on this page, who do I want to be now?
Realizing that character growth always has to happen. You can't fight against it. Change is inevitable, whether we like it or not. And it's our choice if we want to make change for the better or change for the worse. That's our duty.
I had an uncle one time, I remember he was from a small town and I was, wanting to go big out into the world. I was just about to graduate and he said, go out and do it, kid, because if you stay home and God wants you, he'll make the roof fall down on you. So don't be afraid, don't live in fear. Don't worry, don't wonder, don't think that you can't do something, because if you actually go out and do it, you have all the possibilities. And so, of course, we love it when people say those really good doozers that make them like, if you were going to give a doozer or something synonymous of you, or you kind of had your power quote, or you're kind of like one-liner, what is it? Wow. What's not? What's one thing? One thing, yeah, you would be loud, or probably hear why I'm only 50 minutes. What, stuff, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks for calling me on that. I love that stuff.
Whereas, but I think my one thing I would like to let the world know is that right now, no pressure, no pressure at all, like just now. I think first thing that popped into my head, I'm not too sure why, but the first thing that popped into my head is change.
So great.
And I think,
and it's great that you went with it. Like, that's intuitive word, right?
Yeah, and if I can expand upon that intuitive thought in a way, I think maybe this would be my piece of advice for the world. It would be welcome change. Welcome it into your life, because no matter what, it's inevitable. No matter what, it's going to happen. And I remember actually for a majority of my life fearing change. As I kind of got older, I realized that I started to become really scared of it. I started to not welcome it. I was clinging on to the things I had because I never had a lot of stability.
Right.
Just because every single probably 3 to 6 months I was living in a new country, and so I never had that consistency. And after living in Bali for a few years, I really started to cling on to that security and safety of, wow, I finally have a place I know. I have a place I can be around people I know. And every time change would start to happen, it had such a bigger impact. And I would wonder why this was so impactful. I used to change my entire life pretty much every other week. And I realized I became afraid of it. And so now having to relearn and reopen this idea that change is not a bad thing. It's something we should welcome. And now we have the freedom of choice to choose what change gets to come into our life. And I can either look at this change as something that should be feared, that something should be like, I shouldn't enjoy, or I can look at it of, let's just flow, you know? I've learned that through surfing. You can either get beaten down by the waves, or you can ride them. And that's the choice that you get to make. You can either welcome it or you can fear it. And our shift of perspective is the biggest thing. You know, our single change in thought can change our entire directory of our life.
So, like, that's a mic drop of it. But it be sure, mic drop, or a micro. It's not a, it's the dog. But I was going to say IRL, in real life, change is, I'm learning from my kids how to be hip like you. So thank you so much for that. But it's really beautiful what you're saying. And I feel like, you know, age is not an indicator of intelligence. Age is not an indicator of spirituality. It's even not an indicator of knowingness. And so your age has nothing to do with the wisdom that you're sharing and the depth of your understanding. And so I really, really value that so much. It's so great for you. So if you were to talk a little bit about, you know, again, the theme of the show is igniting. Do you feel like people can ignite desire, ignite a dream, ignite a passion? Or do you think they're born with it, or it comes through their own understanding of something they see? Or do you think they were all born with this feeling of a dream and a passion?
Yeah, how I look at it,
I'm asking you the tough ones, aren't you? Yeah, you're right. Just on some hardcore. What's wrong with this? Because you're so wise.
They do. How I look at it is almost like we're all, to put it in a metaphor, I feel we're all born with this sort of flame or a sort of spark. And
those are my words. But I'll think about from latest spark.
But I feel like we're all born with flame and with spark within ourselves. This is something that we can call as passion. We can call as drive, you know, like what fuels our fire. And I feel like over time, as we grow up, we start to learn what that fire is fueled by. We start to learn our passions, our interests, the things that we search out for in life. Maybe this is speaking, maybe this is writing. What is our calling, you know? Like, what is that thing that you can wake up every single day and not have anyone tell you that you need to do it? You can just do it. And for me, I found that as being on art. That was my calling. That's what I know I need to do. For some people, it can be less clear than others, but we all have that one thing that sparks us. We all have that one thing that gets the flight. And I think the more that we learn to listen to that light and that inner voice, you can call it your intuition, you can call it your spark, whatever it might be. The more we learn to listen to that and be guided by light instead of making darkness or stuff like that, or what other people may want us to do, instead of following other people's like thoughts and opinions of us, labels of us, instead if we follow our light and follow that your guidance, I feel like we can make so much change in the world in a positive way and also become happier as humanity, you know?
I can tell that you're a writer because you brought that all nice into a beautiful circle. You talked about change again. You talked about humanity again. You talked about ignite again. So bravo to you. And creativity is a big piece. A lot of us stifle our creativity. We feel like we can't be creative. We feel like, you know, it's expressing ourselves. Do you sometimes feel like you put your heart into your art and you really like put your soul into it and you kind of like opening it up to the world to take a look at?
Yeah, I think actually, I feel like artists get shunned in a way. At least like growing up, I remember hearing the phrase starving artist over and over again. I remember hearing, especially being in a business space with entrepreneurs for most of my life, I remember hearing like, what's most profitable? How are you able to make the most money? And it was like entrepreneurialism with very money driven and space. And I remember hearing about that a lot and getting like kind of confused, like, oh, I really want to be an artist, but like, will I ever be able to live off of my art and stuff? And I feel like we need to shift the mindset of what artists are and allow our kids and youth to really like take action on exploring their inner creativity. I know I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't have an artisan bone in my body, I couldn't draw a stick figure. And I hate when people say that. Hate is a strong word. I really don't like when people say that, because I think the way of the artist is within all of us. And art is not just painting a pretty picture. It's singing, it's self-expression. I think at the core of it, art is that like human-made self-expression. It's a way and a form of showing the world something that can't be described in words.
And it needs to be different. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's different for every single person out there. And art can be such a beautiful translation of emotions, as well as past and just yourself, your inner essence. So I'll let you continue with yourself.
well, you don't know this about me, but I went to fashion design school and I studied fashion. I was in fashion for quite a few years. And I actually struggled in fashion for a bit because I wanted it to be technically correct.
Yeah.
And I didn't see fashion as art. I don't know, you probably don't remember, but there was a year when one of the major designers brought out this big jacket and the whole jacket was made with teddy bears, like all sewn together. And I thought, that's not fashion. That's no, well, that's it. But it took me a long time to realize that it was actually art. And maybe it didn't make sense, or was it practical, or it wasn't exact. Again, that box.
Yeah.
But what it was an expression of something different and seeing life through a different lens and being able to be whimsical and playful and try. And like you said, open to change, that something could change. It doesn't always have to be stagnant. And so it's been beautiful, all of your messages. I really want you to know, you need to watch this recording a few years from now and be like, what? And I said all that? It was really, really, really fantastic. And you've been a great guest to interview. So just before we close, how can people find you?
Well, you can find me anywhere at Hanalei Swan. That's my name, Hanalei, and then Swan like the bird. The first name's hard, the last name's simple. So, yeah, you can find me anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, my website. You can learn all about my story there.
And the name of your fashion brand?
Hanalei Swan as well. So really anywhere.
What clothes do you make if people are interested?
Yeah, I make women's high fashion as well as resort wear, and I use all sustainable materials and do my best to make and create slip fashion.
So I could put in my order for something pink and something fat.
Of course, you got my number to find you some amazing piece silk that is good for the environment and looks fabulous.
Well, you know I'm coming to Indonesia to help build one of our schools, so I hope that we see you then.
Yeah, definitely come visit.
Plan really, I know it'll be really, really fun. We'll be fashionable, and then we'll be fun, and then we'll have some cool IRL moments and depths and the Bali mirrors. Actually, you'll see recent things that I could go home and tell my kids and not think I'm really cool.
Some amazing, definitely. I'll be all that.
Come soon, Wendy. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Well, as you can hear, there's amazing ways that you can make impact by embracing change and be willing to bring change into your life and be open to living in the now. You don't have to decide what it's going to be like tomorrow or next year, or even when you grow up. If you want to grow up, you can decide to just enjoy now, right now. Well, if you want to be a part of Ignite Humanity Live, we would love to have you. So once again, go to ignitehumanity.live/share and tell us all about what you're doing to create change, to ignite others, to bring beauty, peace, and love to the planet. If you've got some creative things to share, we would love to hear it. If you're looking to come or join us or be a part of anything that we're doing when it comes to Ignite Humanity, go to our website, ignitehumanity.life, and you can find out about our trip to Indonesia and how we're building schools to ignite literacy and ignite the lives of young children. We want to make a big impact on the planet, and we would love for you to join us. At ignitehumanity.life, you'll see about our documentary, our docuseries, and our incredible Ignite Humanity book that we're putting many people into to share their powerful Ignite moments, and we would like to hear yours. And last but not least, if you want to watch this episode again, because folks, it's one of the best, Go to ignitehumanity.live/watch and you can see this episode 100% for free. We don't charge you anything. We don't retarget you. We want you to have access to this kind of material so you can ignite your life. And of course, you can share with others. Go check us out at Ignite Television on Facebook, and you can watch us wherever you are, live every Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, or igniting the lives of others. All right, well, big hugs and kisses to you guys. See you tomorrow.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.